Wait a minute. Oh man, right here. Well, it probably ain't gonna be right today. Oh my gosh. What a weekend. Got off of leave. And I apologize, I got a new mount, but one, it's 8:22. My thumbnail was supposed to be 6 minutes you're on. Anybody born in the 80s will get that. 90s, 2000s, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Don't worry about it. But yeah, so got off of leave after an extended period. The worst thing about getting back off of leave is getting back off of leave. I love my job. Best job in the Air Force. But yeah, I would much rather be on leave than on my job. Okay, let's say that. Let's start there. Crazy weekend. So we had a bunch of things that happened. Friday was Friday the 13th. I didn't go to work on Friday the 13th. In fact, I don't think I went to work like all last week. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. And Monday, I took that off because I had like a 12-hour drive from Texas to Alabama when I dropped my baby girl off. And that was a long trip with more than one kid under, let's just put it like this. With more than one kid in the condition of my kids, that was a trip. That was a time. A time was had. And yeah, they did their best. We had iPads, and the problem is when you don't have your power situated correctly, like everybody's like plugged in and continuously charged, they lose their mind because their battery starts to go low, or their battery dies, God forbid, and then they just lose it. And they go crazy, they start screaming, and it's just chaos. And so that was a good portion of the ride. Not a whole lot of stops were involved though. Most of the time we were stopping, it was either to get food or gas. It wasn't necessarily, I gotta pee. We went like long stretches of no bathroom breaks. Let me see if I can tighten this up. Nope. Well, that's what we got for now. And it ain't gonna work good. But anyway, over the weekend, we had a parade. We had No King protests. What else? We had Israel v. Iran. So they published that, they published the paper or the report on, hey, Iran has enough weapons enriched uranium to make about 9 bombs, and they can get started pretty soon here. Now, I don't know why, or I don't know what IAEA thought was going to happen. I think it's the International Agency of Atomic Energy or something like that. I don't know what they thought Israel was going to do, but Israel's red line is WMD in Iran equals preemptive strike. And so that's what they did. But here was the kind of the dumb thing, and it leads me to believe that maybe some backroom conversation. I don't have any intel, obviously. Let's just disclaim that these are my opinions. Although I have this uniform on, I'm just sharing my opinions. It's not representing any organization, anybody except the organization of me. And so let's just start there with that. But to me, the dumb thing was like, they jumped out there and they knew that there are some places where we can't actually get after because we don't necessarily have the technology to get after it. Mossad is like the CIA, the Israeli version of CIA, and them dudes have been doing some major work as of late. Like, I mean, they've been doing major work like pretty much for the entire history of the state. But like some of the stuff they were able to do, man, some of the stuff they are able to do is insane. And so, but to me, if you don't have the technology to take out everything, you putting your big bro in a bad situation, because your big bro is just trying to be like, and big bro is US. It's just really trying to say, look, y'all be cool, be easy, and relax. You know, he gonna relax, so y'all relax. And that's kind of been working, you know. I think it was President Biden that had, it might have been President Biden or President Trump, I can't remember. But they had normalized relationships with some Arab countries. I think it was Qatar and the UAE normalized relations with Israel. And that was a big step, because you know, you had a bunch of people saying we're not going to recognize you as a nation, you know, for years and years and years. But to get them to move off of that and say, you know what, let's go ahead and let's start this relationship out. Let's see what we can get after. You know, maybe it's some money to be made. Maybe it's some agreements. Maybe we could start on a level field and just kind of grow from there. But and that was a big deal. But now you had this preemptive strike where you have one nation saying, no, we're just enriching this strictly for civilian purposes. This is for energy purposes. This is not for military. This is not for militarization. This is not to become a nuclear power. Well, the IAEA said cap, because there's nothing that you gain from enriching it that far beyond military purposes. And so I was looking up, what's this whole thing about nuclear energy? What is it about? Like, what's the point? And the point is, it's like energies. And so I was watching some, I'm sorry, this ain't gonna work because you can't see my face, can't connect. But I was watching some Dr. What's that man's name? Neil deGrasse Tyson. And he was talking about how you separate hydrogen and water, hydrogen and oxygen in water, and that is a reaction, but putting them back together is a reaction that generates rocket fuel. And so I was like, what? Putting oxygen and hydrogen together, that make, how does that work? Hold on, I'm going through the gate here. Hey, all right, how you doing? Good. You too, thank you. Be lethal. And so anyway, all of like energy, like the motor, the oil, gasoline, steam engine, all of that is about that energy process of creating energy and harnessing it to do work. And it just so happens like that nuclear process is a very, very volatile process. And so I don't know, I was doing a lot of reading up on that. I don't have it because I'm not a physicist or a chemist or whatever you want to call it. I'm a biologist by study. But that process was interesting to me. And yeah, so all of this is surrounding like creating energy. And Israel, they bombed them first. And then you had Iran. They was like, all right, now remember, we didn't start it, but we gonna finish it. And so now you have this Iron Dome that's been exposed. And I'm like, well, it got exposed. How did it get exposed? Well, they said they got hypersonic missiles. Well, how did they get hypersonic missiles? I didn't think they had that technology. There's only 2 nations that have that technology, really, and we're not one of them. We're working on it. You know, they say they got stuff in process and like successfully tested, but like, are you using them? No. So right now, the only 2 that have really tested them was China and Russia. And so, you know, Russia and Iran, they like the axis of evil or whatever. And so, I mean, I guess you can safely assume that Russia had something in that. And then when you look at biblically, it has been stated that Russia is in the scriptures. And it says Russia is known as Gog, G-O-G. Look it up, G-O-G. And so, U.S., you don't necessarily see the U.S. in the scriptures, per se. But maybe it's included in the thing that talks about NATO. But anyway, I'm at work, y'all. I'm sorry. I would love to get more into this, but I'm late. I didn't even really get to talk about why I'm late. It doesn't really matter because I'm late. But anyway, y'all have a good day. Be blessed. I'm going to get out of here.